this weird reality show that my friend did like 15 years ago, and it was like a
Canada's Next Top Gay.
And they robbed you. Let me tell you. You were Canada's Next Top Gay.
No, it was a show where you had to go. It's an Andy show. And they basically didn't have good contestants, so they were like, "Can you guys do it? Because I'm wacky, right?" And then basically you go in and have to walk through roaches and all this. It's like one of those. And at the end of it, you won. And me and my friend won because we were in a warehouse blindfolded. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, but it's my buddy's show. I know how these things work. So like we won because like I knew it was nothing, and it was kind of like. But that's how everyone feels about everything. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, obviously nothing actually, the government's not going to let anything actually bad happen to us.
Yeah,
so
but
we
it's like
can do whatever we want. Like, I feel like that's kind of...
Yeah, it's for people who think like the government's infallible. And you're like, no, it's just like a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Who are like really walking through like uncharted waters here.
Do you see when
and they're
Rogan,
throwing shit at the wall? They're just like, I don't know.
Do you see when Rogan was talking to the guy who started Rolling Stone magazine? He was arguing that
I saw the
internet,
clip of that people are not happy with that guy.
They go that he was arguing the internet should be regulated
by the government,
and
right?
Rogan did a great fucking job. And Rogan was like, wait, so by the government? Like you're like the same people who like said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq should regulate the internet and say what's true and what's not true. And he was like, well, there were some people who said that, but I think the government can do good things. And he went and there was one moment where Rogan went like, so politicians? And he goes, I'm not saying politicians, I'm saying the government.
Yeah, he's like, who do you think?
And you know, was like, wait, so there's a difference to you?
Yeah.
Like there's a distinction,
right?
Because when you say politicians, you're like, no, not those scumbags, but the government. Like, but that's what it is.
They like say the government
politicians
like
and bureaucrats,
like it's Santa.
Yeah, like
it's the government.
You're like,
what?
Right? Because it sounds so much better.
Yeah.
Like if I just said the Democrats and the Republicans.
Yeah, you'd be like, no.
The lawyers in Washington D.C. You're like, oh, those monsters.
Yeah.
But if I go the United States of America,
sure.
Like, oh no, those guys.
And again, you
those
probably go like
people.
in that sense. You go, well, the United States, like, look at all this good shit we got.
Yep.
It's like the government got us here, and you're like, no, yes, but like no.
Well, that's the thing, right?
And it wasn't these people.
They were at best guardrails for bad things, and probably at worst they were hindering.
Yeah. And then they weirdly,
yeah.
Then weirdly, there's this real like distinction that gets completely lost between like a government and the country. You know, like as if it's all like the same thing. And we'll do this with other countries where we're like, guys, like China's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
Or China's doing this. And you're like, no, China's not doing this. Like there are people in
like
China who have nothing. Like they're actually way more victimized by the Chinese government than
like
we'll ever be.
Right.
But they're just like some dude.
Elites in the CCP or
yes,
like
dude. This guy, Lou Rockwell, who's a fucking genius. He created the Mises Institute. There's this great like organization, and he wrote this piece like I think it was in April of 2020, and he was just talking about like all the like China hysteria, and there was like, just so you guys know, he was like, China is not your enemy.
Yeah.
And the Chinese government is an evil government, and they're the enemy of the Chinese people. But like China didn't do anything to you.
No,
you know what I mean. Like
their current administration.
Yes,
yeah.
And then he goes through this list of like and he goes, there were these 3 Chinese doctors who blew the whistle on COVID, who if anyone had listened to them would have stopped this whole thing before it spread, and they all got fucking thrown in camps.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, by the Chinese government. And so you realize like it's almost like a thing where like that's how they justify all this shit. Like, well, China's bad, so let's drop a bomb on this city.
Yeah,
and you're like, who are you gonna fucking kill? Is that like just some person, just some dude who had nothing to do with this system any more than Joe Biden is us.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like
the guy having and hating his boss and coming home and beating his kids.
So then they'll be like, well, the government's done pretty good. I mean, look over the last 100 years, the country did this and this. And you're like, yep, the country did that.
Yeah,
the government didn't do that fucking shit.
No.
I mean, maybe they did something. Basically
they allowed
nothing.
the people to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially,
like, really what happened, like what happened over the last fucking 30 years that was really great. And you'll be like, well, there's some doctor invented some new medicine, or someone did this or that or whatever, and like life got way better, and you know, my TV is way better than my TV used to be. And you're like, yeah, that's all true, but that was just what people did.
Yeah.
What the government did. You're like, they killed 1 million people in Iraq. You know, for no
I mean,
reason.
I guess they built some roads with the tax dollars.
They built some roads after there was leftover money from the money they used to murder people in Iraq.
Yeah.
Roads kind of suck, to be honest. They're pretty shitty roads, but they're there, I guess.